Izin saya admit partisipan ya Pak.
Oke, Mbak Abel. Mas VT, kita mulai ya.
Recording in progress.
Kita udah 20 plus, udah. Ya, oke, saya tunggu. Siap.
Recording stopped.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to MTEL conference call for the first quarter of 2023 results. All the materials for today's call are available on our website www.mitratel.co.id. Today's call is being recorded and a replay will be available after the call. There will be a CEO remarks and followed by presentation from our CIO before the Q&A session. Before we start, let me remind you that today's presentation and responses to the questions may contain forward-looking statements within the meaning of safe harbor. The projections or estimations may involve risk and uncertainty that may cause material results to be different from what we discussed today. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure now to introduce MTEL's Board of Directors who are joining us today. Our Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Theodorus Ardi Hartoko. Our Chief Operation Officer, Ms. Hastining Bagyo Astuti. Our Chief Investment Officer, Mr. Hendra Purnama. And our Chief Commercial Officer, Mr. Agus Winarno. Without further ado, I will now hand over the call to our CEO for his remarks. Please, Pak Teddy, the time is yours.
Thank you, Andy. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our conference call for the first quarter of 2023 results today. Please allow me to start today's call with a few remarks before handing it over to our CIO for more detailed presentation. In the first quarter 2023, MTEL continued its growth momentum by posting 2.06 trillion rupiah in revenue, or increased by 9.9% year-on-year, with EBITDA and net income grew by 16.2% and 9.1% year-on-year respectively. Moreover, EBITDA margin is expanding to 81.5%, while net income margin is relatively stable at 24.4%. MTEL successfully acquired 997 towers from IOH on March 1st, 2023. The acquisition, combined with organic operation, confirmed MTEL to be the largest tower company in the region with more than 36,000 sites that company owned. With the right strategy to monetize those assets, we believe that MTEL has healthy long-term growth potential and become the dominant tower provider in the industry. Furthermore, our business plan is supported by strong financial position with a relatively low leverage ratio that allows the company to have financial flexibility and take advantage of growth opportunities, while at the same time providing an optimum return for our shareholders. We also expanding the tower ecosystem business, including fiber and power to the tower, as part of our strategy to strengthen our product positioning. By end of first quarter 2023, we have successfully deployed 19,000 kilometers in fiber optic organically. Ladies and gentlemen, following our recent AGMS, we are proud to announce several changes on the composition on both board of commissioners and directors, which will be introduced later. With their excellent experience, and we believe that new boards will support the company to achieve our objective and create the best values for shareholder. This concludes my remarks. I will now hand over to Pak Endra, our CIO, to deliver more detailed presentation. Thank you. Please, Pak Endra.
Thank you, Pak Teddy. Okay, maybe I can start the presentation. Okay, next. Okay, next slide. Okay, first of all, as Pak Teddy already mentioned, I would like to introduce the new BOD and BOC, which already announced during our AGM on the 14th of April 2023. So our President Commissioner is Pak Rico Ustavia Franz. Our Independent Commissioner is Pak Ridwan Rizky Ramdhani Nasution, and our Commissioner Pak Herlan Wijanarko, our Commissioner Pak Henry Yosodiningrat, and the new Commissioner is Pak Yusuf Bibisono. For the Board of Directors, we have Pak Teddy, Pak Theodorus Ardihartoko as our CEO, and Pak Ian Sigit Kurniawan as our Chief of Finance and Risk Officer, also myself as the CIO, and we have two board members, which is Pak Agus Winarno as the Chief of Commercial Officer, and Ibu Hastining Bagio Astuti as the Chief of Operation Officer. Next. So this is the highlight of Mitratel. I believe most of you already familiar. As Pak Teddy already mentioned, that we are now the largest tower owned, not only in Indonesia, but also in Southeast Asia. As being the largest, we also deliver as the strongest industry leading growth, especially in the tower business. Okay? We are continue to be resilient, and we also have a strongest balance sheet in the industry to cater if there's any opportunity for organic or inorganic. Okay. We also being the champion in the tower consolidation in Indonesia. Since 2019, we are able to acquire around 21,000 towers in Indonesia. We are also the preference independent tower company, where we grab a market share around 45%, okay, as of first quarter. Okay. And we are continue to grow our adjacent product, in this case, fiber optic, and as Pak Teddy already mentioned, we are now also in the business of power as a service. Okay. Next slide. This is the composition of our shareholder as of first quarter. Is basically remain the same, where Telkom still the majority shareholder with close to 32%, and the remaining 28% is actually belong to the public, including some SWF such as INA, ADIA, Abu Dhabi Growth Fund, and also GIC. Next slide. Okay, I would like to start from the telco industry in 2023. The first thing that happening in the industry is actually the network virtualization, where basically all of the MNO will divest their infrastructure into a third party. For example, the tower to the tower company. And also we are seeing many MNO is also combining the service from the fastest mobile and the fixed wireless. Okay? One of the example is the merger of Telkomsel and also IndiHome. The third one is actually the dominant player. We actually anticipating the cloud computing in Indonesia, where the potential market is close to 561 megawatt by 2026. This is actually the one that drives the demand for the connection, which is fiber optic, and also the use case for 5G. The fourth one, we're also seeing that MNO try to divest their in-building solution. This is a new area that we're also going to be to anticipate in the near future. Okay? And arising from the capability of 5G, especially the low latency, that's bringing a new adjacent product, which is the edge computing. And the last thing is actually we are seeing more and more private network cellular by using 5G. Okay? As we see in the mining company and also plantation company that in Indonesia that can gain some advantage using the 5G throughout their network. Next slide. Okay. In the tower industry, the first thing that we are seeing is actually the growth of fiber optic. Within less than 1 year, around 1 year, Mitratel is actually able to grow our fiber optic from 0 to close to 26,000 kilometers. Okay? On top of that, we also continue to see the demand of the improved coverage outside Java Island. This has been around since during 2021 and continue as of now, since the coverage is not fully well covered, especially in Sumatra, Kalimantan, and east of Indonesia. The third one that we are seeing power as a service. So the market for this product by 2026, we are expecting to reach 1.7 trillion rupiah. Then lastly is actually the edge computing. This is actually in line with what's happening in the telco industry. And we are predicting for the edge computing itself, the demand can be as high as 1.2 trillion rupiah by 2026. Next. We're going to mention in terms of the track record for Mitratel. I believe most of you is already familiar also that we continue to grow CAGR for organic since 2010 until this quarter by 44%. This is one of the highest number in the industry. In terms of the tower location, 78% of our tower is actually located in the strategic area where there's actually no other tower either belong to MNO or third party that is available within that area. Okay? For the tenancy ratio, due to the last acquisition that we did from the MNO, our last tenancy ratio at 1.48. And if we take out the acquisition, then our tenancy ratio at 1.78. In terms of the significant co-location, we actually have a huge tower that is available. For example, for Telkomsel, around 5,000 tower that is actually available for them to do a co-location. For IO, we actually have about 25,000, XL about 30,000, and Smartfren 34,000 tower available for them. Next slide. Okay. Continue in terms of the coverage outside Java Island. We see that the strongest growth is actually happen again in North Sumatra, followed by Sulawesi and also Kalimantan. This is also happened since last year, and we believe it's continue to happen in 2023 and so forth. Within the Java itself, the growth still double digit, but still less than 20%. In terms of the number of tower, we are able to grow around 27.5. In terms of the co-location and consolidated growth, around 16.2. Number of tenant, we are able to grow 23.7, and the reseller more or less same as of last year. Next slide. Okay, for our performance financial highlight in first quarter, we see an improvement of close to 10% in terms of the revenue. EBITDA, we are seeing 16, and net income around 9%. Okay. EBITDA margin, you see that a big jump to 81.5%. This is actually due to two acquisition that we did, which is the IO 997 acquisition and also the fiber optic, where those acquisition is still in the transfer period, where some of the cost is not actually 100% it's not actually 100% transferred to us. So we are still waiting. We believe that the number will normalize in second quarter. For the net income, it remains stable at 24.4%. So in 2023 first quarter, we actually adding around 1,021 tower. In terms of number of tenants, we are adding 1,311, and for fiber optic, we actually have 25,509 kilometer. This is the combination between the organic and also the acquisition of 6,000 kilometer. Next slide. This is the segment from each of the revenue. As you see, the tower leasing business has been grown quite significant. So we are grow almost 19% for the tower business. In terms of the margin, it's also stable at 85.5%, more or less the same as last year. For the reseller, it's actually in terms of the revenue is dropped 12.6%. It's actually in line with our plan to phase out the reseller business. In terms of the margin for the reseller, it's actually also stable at 88.2%. Fiber optic is a new business that we are put in our report starting first quarter. So as of first quarter, we are get a revenue of around 34 billion rupiah. In terms of the EBITDA margin is still high, around 82.9%. Okay, this is because most of the fiber optic that we build, there's actually a warranty for 1 year. So within that warranty period, we don't need to pay for the expenses for the operation. It's still covered under the warranty. That's why the EBITDA margin is still very high. And lastly is the tower related business. Okay. For the tower related business, you see quite a drop at 44.3%. This is because of the project service, where we basically the project itself still ongoing and targeting to be closed in second quarter. This is the project itself is actually almost around 100 billion rupiah. So if you see compared to last year is almost the same. Okay. In terms of the EBITDA margin is also actually better compared to last year. We actually calculate the EBITDA margin for the tower related business at 19.3%. Okay. So for the expenses, even though our revenue is actually grow quite significant, close to 10%. In terms of the total expense, we are managing not more than 5% increase. Okay. So if we look more deeper, the planning and OMM of the tower itself is increased 10%. But if you see the increase of the tower business is actually close to 19%. So we actually able to improve our efficiency. And the second one is the construction and project management. The drop is actually close to 100 billion rupiah. Is actually because of the project is still ongoing. G&A remain flat. And for the employee compensation, the increase is happened because of the new regulation related to tax and also the Hari Raya allowance. In this case, last year, Hari Raya allowance was actually booked in the second quarter. And then lastly is the other expenses. In terms of the percentage, it's actually increased quite significant, but in terms of the number, it's basically don't increase that significant. What happened is because in 2022, there's actually the other expenses itself is around 14 billion rupiah. However, there's actually adjustment allowance for account receivable of minus 12 billion. Then we only book about 2 billion for the other expenses. Okay? So, but then in terms of the real other expenses itself, the difference between last year until this year is actually only less than 7 billion rupiah. Okay, next slide. Okay. In terms of the customer, about 89% of our revenue is come from the top 3 MNO in Indonesia. Okay. And then if you see in terms of the revenue visibility remains strong with a CAGR of 40% since 2018. Okay. And in terms of the contract expire as of first quarter, 67% of our contract is actually expired more than 4 years. And on the bottom right graphic is also to demonstrate our wallet share and our independency, where our wallet share in Telkomsel is actually around 47% as of first quarter. And our wallet share in Excel is actually at 60%, okay? And wallet share with IO is at 33%. This is to demonstrate that our strong position as the preference independent tower company for the MNO in Indonesia. Next. In terms of the balance sheet, our leverage is still manageable. Okay? Compared to others, our net debt to EBITDA is still quite low, below 1.5, while others is close to 5%. The covenant, our covenant with the bank is also at 5 times. And then in terms of the recurring free cash flow, we actually improving with the CAGR of 22% since 2018. This actually beef up our balance sheet and to make us stronger in terms of preparing us for the capex, either for organic or inorganic expansion. For the fixed loan, it's also improved from 25% at the end of last year to 39%. Okay? But compared to last year, first quarter is still around 100% floating. Now we actually at 39% fixed and 61% floating. Okay? And we actually work together with most of the bank in Indonesia, either the SOE bank, foreign bank, or it's a private bank, with the tenor, average tenor is around 5 years. Okay, next slide. In terms of the fiber optic, we are developing fiber optic in all of the islands within in Indonesia except Papua at the current time. So the total length we have at the current time is 25,509 kilometers. Okay? And this includes also the 6,012 kilometers that we acquired at the end of December. Next slide. Okay. In terms of ESG, by first quarter, we are able to reduce our carbon emission by 7.7% due to some efficiency that we did in our operation. And also, we are able to reduce our energy consumption by using a smart energy sensor. And we also replacing around 350 sites from VRLA battery into lithium-ion battery. For the community, we also very active in terms of the CSR program to charity, and also we work together with the MNO and Bakti to build 945 towers in the remote area. This is 3T and also non-3T. Okay. Mitratel also remain included in the ESG index. We also adding ISO from many classification, and also in terms of the diversified workship, 31% of our staff is actually female, and from the last recruitment that we did this year, 50% of the new recruitment is actually female. Next slide. Okay, so this is our last presentation. Our guidance for 2023 remain the same, where the revenue and EBITDA growth at 11, capex at 7 trillion rupiah. Organic, we are targeting to have 4,000 new tenants by 2023, and for inorganic, 1,500. In terms of the fiber optic itself, we are targeting 13,000 kilometers. Okay, I believe this is my last presentation. I will hand over to Pak Andi.
Thank you, Pak Hendra. We are now beginning the Q&A session. And for anyone who would like to ask question, please raise your hand. I think first question will be coming from Ranjan Sarma. Please unmute yourself, Ranjan.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for the presentation. It's Ranjan from JP Morgan. Two questions. Firstly, on the guidance of 11% growth in revenues and EBITDA, you're already running well ahead of it. So, is there reason to expect a moderation in the latter part of the year? That's the first question. Second is, are you also able to share the tenancy ratios on your fiber portfolio? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ranjan. I'm sorry, maybe I missed the first question. Yeah, can you please repeat the first question, Ranjan?
Yeah, you're guiding for 11% growth in EBITDA for 2023. First quarter, you have delivered 16% growth. Is there a reason for expecting a moderation in the latter part of the year?
Okay, thank you. Okay, for the EBITDA, I believe that, as I mentioned before, that some of the costs, especially the tower that we just acquired and also the fiber optic, still being transferred to us. So not all of the cost of maintaining those towers is actually already transferred. So we're seeing that the EBITDA probably will be adjust, especially you will see the normalized number in the second quarter. And in terms of the billable for the fiber optic, at the current time, we basically just start to connecting all of the equipment belong to the MNO in our tower. So the billable is still at one time at the current time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ranjan. Second question will be coming from Arthur Pineda. Please unmute yourself, Arthur.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. This is Arthur from Citi. Several questions, please. Firstly, on the revenue per tenant, this seems to be declining by around 5%, which then pulled down your total revenues by around 3%. What's causing this decline, and why is there a divergence between yourself and your other competitor who seems to be posting an expansion in ART? And second question is on a housekeeping question. DNA are down materially on a quarter-on-quarter basis, even with the additional towers that you've acquired. What's driving this, and is this a normalized trend that you should see for the succeeding quarters? And sorry, I just have a follow-up question on the comment made earlier. I missed the comment on the Telkomsel tower transfers. Is it correct that there were still some towers which have not been transferred yet, and there should be some catch-up revenues? Sorry if I misunderstood on that one.
Okay, thank you, Arthur. Okay, the first question in terms of the lease rate. So I think we are seeing that in first quarter, there's some of the contract is not finalized yet. So in our accounting department, if the contract is not signed or finalized, then we will not calculate the revenue from those towers. Those actually the one from Bhakti, where we are seeing there's a delay due to the change of the BOD in Bhakti. But then in terms of the, this is more like an administration, so we believe by the next earning call, the contract will be signed. Okay. So that's why the reason in terms of the revenue is not, actually you actually did not calculate the revenue from those Bhakti, but in terms of the number of tenant is actually still adding. And then in terms of the DNA, we actually did to change the depreciation from 30 to 40 years. So now we actually already adjust for 40 years for the depreciation. Okay? That's I believe the reason why the D&A is actually lower. And last thing on the Telkomsel, what I did mention is actually the tower that we acquire from Indosat. Is more related to the cost. But if you're asking about, are they still a tower that owned by Telkomsel? Yes, they are. We believe the number maybe between 2,500 to 2,600. Okay, that's still in the Telkomsel.
Understood.
Hope that answered the question.
So, sorry, just on the first comment on the lease rate. So we should see a catch up on the revenues in the subsequent quarters when this is finalized. Is that correct? Is that the way to look at it?
Yes, correct. Especially from the contract from Bhakti.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arthur. Next question will be coming from Husaini Safi. Please unmute yourself, Husaini.
Yeah, hi, sure. Thanks for the opportunity and good afternoon. Several questions from me. First is, if we see the organic tenant addition in the first quarter, it's somewhere around 300 tenants, whereas for the full year, the guidance is for 4,000 new tenant addition. So just to get a bit more clarity, that are we expecting those new tenancy addition to be backloaded? And what is the visibility at this point in time in terms of new tenancy orders from various telcos? That's question number one. And just to the previous question, that there were some delays in revenue bookings from Bhakti. How many towers there were for which the revenues were not booked? And just linked to the Indosat Tower acquisition, I understand that some of the costs are not booked. Is it the same true for the revenues from the Indosat Towers, or is it just that we booked revenues in the first quarter but not the costs? Just wanted to get a bit clarity on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question, Husaini. Okay, so the first question is in terms of the backlog, in terms of the collocation. So yes, there's actually a bit of backlog in terms of the collocation. We are targeting by first semester we can collect 4,000 collocation in this semester. We actually, as I mentioned before, that we received an order from Excel before that. Some of the order is still ongoing. Okay, this is due to some of the order is actually include power as a service, not only just a collocation. Okay, and then for the second question in terms of delay from Bhakti, we will check in terms of the number, but in terms of the revenue is around 15 billion rupiah per month, okay, for the Bhakti. And then in terms of the cost for the acquisition, yes, the acquisition is actually around as I mentioned before, the revenue we already built and we already received the revenue, but in terms of the cost is the only one that hasn't been transferred to us.
Understood. This is very clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Husaini. The next question will be coming from Pius. Please unmute yourself, Pius.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, and thanks for this call. I have a question regarding your Telkomsel revenue. So if I look at your tower leasing revenue, it has declined sequentially quarter on quarter. Is there a decline from Telkomsel revenue quarter on quarter, and what's the reason for that?
Okay. For the Telkomsel revenue, there's actually, yes, there's actually a declining, but then in terms of the number, we will come back to you. The difference in terms of the decline is not significant. because some of the service we actually split between the fiber optic and also the lease rate. It's not actually a bundle service.
No, but it doesn't matter whether you split between tower rental or lease, like fiber, like your revenue, cumulative revenue from telecom cell, why it should decline unless they are, releasing some towers or you are reducing the rental rate. I'm just trying to
Okay.
understand what is causing that decline in
Okay.
absolute revenue from telecom cell.
Okay. Sorry, I guess to answer the question is actually for the renewal contract and the new contract. Okay. Also, the significant part is actually coming from the acquisition. Okay. Sell and lease back in terms of the lease rate is actually lower compared to build to suit. The 6,000 sell and lease back that we did last year is about 10 million rupiah per month.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Pak.
Thank you, Pius. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, again, still open the Q&A session, and please raise your hand. Husaini, please unmute yourself.
Thanks, Pak Andy. Maybe just one question or broader level question on the lease rentals in Indonesia, particularly for co-location. Just wanted to understand what is the co-location rentals at this point, and are there any big discounts being offered in the market to attract new co-location? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question, Saini. For the lease rate, have the data as of December last year, which actually still around 12.7 for the macro tower. So it's actually still in line with what our expectation around 12. Okay, and in terms of the co-location, there's actually no different. There's no special discount for the co-location.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you, Husaini. I think we are still waiting for more questions. I think if there is no more question, I will let Pak Hendra for closing remarks. Pak Hendra. There is a question from Jun Leong. Please unmute yourself, Jun.
Thanks, management, for this call. Sorry, I might have missed this earlier, but can you talk a bit about the organic tenant additions again? You're looking at 4,000 for this year. Is that a net addition or is that a gross addition? And your first quarter seems to be trending a bit lower than the 4,000. So what do you expect for the rest of the year?
Okay. Thank you for the question, Jun Leong. From the 4,000 organic, we are targeting 3,000 is co-location and 1,000 build to suit. So we're remaining to have a build to suit, especially for the telecom cell. If you see in the presentation below, before that, the almost 90% of the telecom cell new order is actually built to suit for them to cover an area that is not been covered before. And for the total of 4,000 target this year, we are strongly believe by this semester we are able to deliver 2,000 new tenant by just by the first semester, and then the second semester we can deliver the rest. I think the effect of this long Hari Raya holiday is also impacted in the first quarter when we try to improve the collocation for the order that we receive either from Indosat or from Excel.
Okay, is the 4,000 a net or gross figure?
Come again, 4,000 is a...
The 4,000 net additions, sorry, 4,000 additions. Is it a net figure or a gross figure? So,
okay.
Yeah, is it before or after churn?
Okay, it's actually a net. So there's a new 4,000 order by 2023.
Okay. So, okay, can I just clarify? So 4,000 tenancy additions organic, and then you want to add 1,500 inorganic. So your total tenancy addition will be 5,500 on a net basis.
Okay. So 4,000, so 3,000 is actually co-location, 1,000 build to suit, 1,500 is from the acquisition. Okay? So the net is 5,500.
Okay. Okay.
And
thank you.
yeah, just to add, in terms of number of order, by now we actually have more than 2,000 already. So the one that actually is not been delivered yet or still ongoing is still quite significant. And then we believe by this quarter, second quarter, we're able to finalize everything.
Okay. What is the bottleneck? I mean, you talked about the long Hari Raya holiday, the Lebaran, but is there any operational bottlenecks that is causing you to, be unable to roll it out in first quarter? Because if I'm looking at your first quarter tenancy additions, you added 300 organic tenants. Yeah. So I'm just trying to understand. Yeah, based on what you're saying, if you're going to add 2,000, that's 1,700 in the next quarter, this quarter, right? Second quarter. The cadence is quite big. I'm just trying to understand why was it slow in the first quarter and then so much faster in the second quarter.
Okay, there's actually a couple of reasons. The first one is the readiness of the equipment from the MNO. Second, about 1,000 order from one of the MNO is actually include power as a service. In this case, we need to do some procurement for that equipment. So that also create a bit of a bottleneck to provide that equipment. So that's actually the two major.
Okay, and has this kind of
terms of the battery recently, but we believe in this quarter we can finalize everything.
Okay, and then you can book the tenancy, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and then one more question from me is you were saying that this Indosat acquisition, some of the costs. Okay, so you built and received the revenue, but not all the costs has been fully transferred.
Yes.
Can you explain a bit how does this work? Like, how can you do the revenue but not recognize the cost, and how big is this cost?
Okay, so the cost will not get significant, first of all. Second, what happened is when we acquire those towers, we can calculate right away how much is the lease rate for that 1 month. Okay, because the transfer or the signing of the SPA is happen on the 1st of March. So then we can transfer the tower and we can build them for 1 month. Okay, but in terms of the maintaining the tower on that month, most of the MNO is using third party, in this case a vendor, to maintain those tower, and that billing, some of them is still go to the MNO, even though they already informed that as of 1st of March the tower is already belong to us. So then some of the vendor is actually will create another billing, cancel the billing to the MNO, and then they're going to bill it to us. But because of the administration process, then some of by the time we close at the end of March, some of the bill we haven't received yet. from all of those vendors. So that's what happened.
Okay, thank you. That's clear. Can I ask one more question? This is with regards to your customers. I noticed that Telkomsel plus telecom related revenues, it is down Q1Q. So I think you've talked a bit about the lease rate and the sales and lease back on the 6,000 towers. Is the -8% Q1Q, is that all relating to the sales and lease back?
Yes, correct. Because the sale and lease back that we acquired the tower is quite significant. Last year, it's about 6,000 tower.
Okay. And then how about XL? XL is down 14% Q1Q.
XL down in terms of the revenue?
Yeah.
Okay. Let us come back to you on that one. I don't think there's actually a significant change in XL.
Okay. Oh, right. Because it depends. Okay. Yeah, can you just help me double check that? Because your disclosure on Excel is a bit spotty. Some quarters you put it out, and then some quarters it's not. Okay. And then last one on this is the IOH revenue. So I think year on year it looks like 100% plus, but I don't think that is Indosat plus Hutch, right? It's just Indosat in the base year, and then in this quarter it is both combined. Can I clarify that? Is the base year already pro forma or is not?
Okay. Sorry, John. I think the first question that you asked, the one that is down is not XL, but I think it's Telkom. Yeah. The one that is you mentioned that is reducing before.
Oh, both. Yeah.
Yeah. Telkom is down is because the project, the one that I did mention before, that about 100 billion is still ongoing. So then that's why we haven't built them, because the project is still ongoing.
Ongoing meaning under negotiation, or you?
Oh no, this is a project solution. So project solution is basically for us to, for example, build a fiber optic, or the maintaining the equipment belong to Telkom. So this is not tower related project. So this is more like on the project base, even though it's recurring. Okay, but basically this is on the project. So then the project itself still ongoing. Okay, it means that the project will end sometime in this quarter, and by the time the project ends, that's where we start billing, start send them the invoice.
Okay. Okay.
And can you maybe repeat your second question?
Okay. Yeah. On the XL, just help me check on that. But then I want to ask about Indosat revenues, IOH, because in your financial statements it shows 100% year-on-year growth, but I don't think the base figure includes Indosat plus Hutch. So can you give us a pro forma? How is the business from Indosat Hutch growing year on year?
Okay. So if you see in this in the graphic, the revenue from I think we already put it together for Hutch and Ooredoo. This is about 90% from our total revenue, right? With the close to almost 12% growth.
Okay, so it is 19% of sales this quarter. How much percent of sales was it in first quarter 2022?
First quarter 2022, so 19% from the 2 trillion of our revenue.
Okay, but last year? Was it also 19%?
Compared to last year, okay. I probably will come back to you on that one. I guess we do have the data, but I think I can come back to you on that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the reason I'm asking is because last year's first quarter 2022, I think you only disclosed Hutch, but you didn't disclose Indosat revenues. So I can't. Yeah, that's why I can't really figure out what the growth is.
Let me check again. Usually we put both of them
Okay.
for Hutch and Indosat, but definitely we can reply to you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Terima kasih, Pak.
Okay. Maybe Jin Lang, just to add a little bit. Last year is actually about 20% come from IO, so that Indosat and Hutch. This is why now it's actually about in terms of the percentage is actually reduced. It's because the significant revenue come from Telkomsel since we acquired the 6,000 tower.
Okay, so that's what I thought, right? So that would suggest that your Indosat Hutch revenues are actually flat year on year.
It should not be flat. There's actually a bit of increase, but then the 997 tower, the one that we just acquired, is only booked 1 month instead of 3 months.
Okay, but they also added other co-locations with you over the last 4 quarters, right?
Yes, they actually an order from also from Indosat co-location, which been delivered by end of last year. So I think it's in terms of the organic around 6% growth.
Okay. Thank you. The rest I'll just take it offline.
Yeah. Thank you, Jun. Yeah, I think we still have like a couple more minutes for one questions, if any. If there is no more questions, then Pak Hendra, I think I will let you to deliver the closing remarks, Pak Hendra, for the call.
Thank you, Andy. Again, with our strong result, it's actually put us as one of the strongest tower company in Indonesia with one of the best performance. Our balance sheet is actually still one of the best and is actually getting better from what the organic and inorganic activity that we did in the first quarter. On top of that, this adding of the cash flow, free cash flow to our balance sheet actually prepare us for the next opportunity, either is a capex for organic or inorganic in the tower ecosystem. So this give us in the ideal position to actually grow further in 2023. Okay. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah. Thank you, Pak Indra. And thank you everyone for participating in today's call. We apologize for those whose questions could not be addressed yet. Should you have any further questions, please contact us directly. For your information, the recording of today's call will be available for the next 7 days, and we will send the link to your email. This concludes the call for today. Thank you, everyone, and see you in the next quarter. Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Sudah.